when COVID-19 hit and we got plunged into this pandemic, domestic violence rose pretty dramatically. From January to April of this year, there were as many domestic homicides in Milwaukee as there were in all of 2019. During the Safer at Home mandate, domestic violence rose almost 30% in Milwaukee alone. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, volunteer lawyers cannot represent domestic abuse victims at restraining order hearings in Milwaukee County. So to combat the lack of legal representation for the victims, Quarles and Brady attorney Emily Fons created a legal hotline for victims to call prior to their restraining order hearing. They can speak with an attorney to get legal advice. Lawyers can tell them what the proceeding will be like, how to best present the facts of the case, how to prepare the abuser, prepare the person if the abuser is present. And remember, for many of these victims, this may be the very first time they've ever been in a courtroom, so it can be very daunting and intimidating for them. As a board member of Sojourner Family Peace Center, Emily worked through her relationship with Sojourner to create the hotline and have it in place for victims seeking services through Sojourner. The hotline went live this past June. Applications for restraining orders are now down significantly, but Emily and her volunteer staff of about 7 lawyers were there to make a difference when it was needed the most. Attorney Fons is online with us today to accept her award. Congratulations, and we really appreciate all the work you're doing in this area.
Hi, thank you, Tom. Thank you really to the Wisconsin State Bar for this award and for the recognition of the volunteer work that's done with victims of domestic violence. Thank you, Joyce, for coordinating and getting my award safely to Milwaukee. It arrived in beautiful condition, as you can see. So thank you so much. I think when we think about this year, Merriam-Webster said that the word of the year was pandemic. But I really think that the word of the year should be pivot. And I'm sure we're all sick of hearing that word, but that's what a lot of us did this year. We pivoted. What I normally do, I'm now practicing with Godfrey and Kahn, but I'm by trade a corporate merger and acquisition and antitrust attorney. So representing victims of domestic violence in a courtroom setting is very much so outside my normal comfort zone. Many of my colleagues are shocked that I even know where the courtroom is. But I really think it's important for people to get outside their comfort zone and do work that is innovative from what they normally do on a day-to-day basis. I started representing victims of domestic violence through the Lawyer for a Day program at Quarles and Brady about 6 years ago. And I found that the work was invigorating. It was very different from what I did on a day-to-day basis. And it had the human element that I was lacking in my normal day-to-day work. And so when I was working with these victims and helping them navigate some of the worst days of their lives, I felt like it was really making a difference. And so when the pandemic hit and we couldn't work with these victims in person, we knew that we had to have a solution. And oddly, in Milwaukee County, the restraining order hearings are held within the family court system. And the courtroom that holds these hearings does not have technological capabilities. So it was one of the few types of court hearings that could not be on Zoom. It could not become a remote situation. So people actually still had to go during the throes of the pandemic in person in order to get the restraining order and in order to have their hearing for the permanent injunction. So we really felt like they go into court and they don't know what they're doing. They don't even know where to go. And having the hotline gave them the ability to connect with an attorney, to give them brief legal advice on their case, explain what the process would be like, explain how an advocate from Sojourner would physically be in the courtroom with them, to just offer, physical and mental support while they were there, which is really important because a lot of times they feel like they're going to be in the room with their abuser alone. And that's a terrifying thought for a lot of these victims. So, I think it's important for attorneys to constantly innovate, constantly get outside your comfort zone, and look for areas where you think that there needs to be change. Domestic violence in Milwaukee is a serious, serious problem. This year has exemplified that in so many ways. And so I think, we just need to continue to find ways to reach our survivors of domestic violence and continue to help them navigate an otherwise daunting legal field. So thank you so much.